Hi, this is Brian, and I'm going to review The River of Doubt, Theodore Roosevelt's Darkest Journey by Candace Millard. I really love the title to this book. It's got darkness in it, and it's got doubt. And those are two things that people try to avoid. I think you should never doubt yourself or doubt people around you, but the darkness part is what people avoid, and I think this is what that story is all about. Candace is a very fluid writer. This is a tale about Theodore Roosevelt's wild adventure to the Amazon after he lost the election. And even though she doesn't seem like a outdoors woman, she writes with a soft edge to it. After Roosevelt has served his 2 terms in office, 4 years later after that he decides to run again. And what happens is he splits with his party with William Taft, and Woodrow Wilson ends up winning. Both the combined votes of Taft and Roosevelt would have won the election. So by going his own way and creating his own party, the Boomers Party, both of them lost. I don't really know the full reasons to this, but I'll do some more research later because Roosevelt is a really fascinating man. And be sure that you check out my other review, Rise of Roosevelt by Edmund Morris, before you press on. And this is a kind of a cycle with the type of man that Roosevelt was. Is whenever he experienced loss, defeat, not even defeat, but he had made a mistake or felt he had been cheated or wanted to get stronger, he does this bounce back. He presses on and does something truly extraordinary because he was pressed on by his dad to make his body. And I think this is a mind, body, spirit type of thing, this holistic approach, more like an Eastern, is that he never wanted to consider himself weak. So by doing this, his son, took off on a journey to the Amazon to explore the River of Doubt, which had never been explored before. I mean, there's this boring life that you can choose or be a slave to whatever drug, but he had always these dips and patterns of adventure, as well as experimentation. But he really chose to live versus the rigid ways of a beta-orbiting sheep. He was 55 at the time and really no guts, no glory. In this first section, I want to talk about darkness, as it is indicated in the title. And the Amazon was one of those places that had not been fully explored yet. There's always this more, but there was always devastation or natural elements that kept people away from this area. It's not a glamorous place. You're under the canopy. Trees, animals, and plants are battling for survival of sunlight and food. It's the true laws of nature. Definitely not this type of stuff you see on an Instagram photo, but the real deal. And in terms of darkness, you never know what is there. There's no linear lines. There's the fear and the mystery. There could be, in this list, disease, malaria, dysentery, parasites going under your skin, poisonous snakes, termites, animals, poison dart frogs, and expeditions where eagles destroy each other. But mystery always has like a draw to it. It has, just like the white rabbit going down the cave, or not knowing what type of fish are under you when you're fishing. And it reminds me of this video game I grew up with. It's called the Oregon Trail. And I didn't even know what dysentery was until that time. And there's always animals. There's so much to be found in the Amazon. Just like Jeff Bezos' company, he named his company Amazon, is that there's so many animals there. There's birds and fish, and like 3,000 birds or fish are in the Amazon. And there's always something new. I like to call it reoccurring moments of Egyptian decorated black swans arriving or taking flight. And in terms of researching this type of forest, is that there are animals in there just trying to survive and thrive. They're cloak and daggering. They hide in between the plants. There's sloths. There's snakes under everything. There's tricks. It's Darwinism. It's survival of the fittest. There are no linear lines in the jungle or even in darkness. It's just pure beautiful darkness. And like I said before, doubting is very easy to do and you should avoid it. In terms of darkness, it is hard to take the path of most resistance, and it is toward darkness. But it does harbor the fruits and all the rewards. Also, make sure you research this animal. It's called a kangaroo. I'll talk about that later. This next part, I want to talk about being away from civilization. Is that you are on an adventure. This is not a video game like the Oregon Trail. You're not living life vicariously. You're doing tough shit, and this will prevent you from acting like a victim that which you see all around you in the current civilization. You're not experiencing this learned helplessness. You're more of a hustler. You're going for it. You have an I can do attitude, and you're making it happen. You're not a weak hipster or a mindless zombie. You are super connected, especially if you're by yourself. But if you're a group, you're looking after yourself and the others. Every person matters. Every provision matters. You're spiral, hyper focused, and you're connected to the environment and the universe. It's a moment like these when you're outside civilization in the cities that you understand the laws of nature. Is that the Mississippi River dictates the flow. It can be calm or turn into rip-roaring rapids. There's no technology, there's no Snapchat out there. There's no stupid, whiny anxiety moments like someone not returning your phone call or not answering their phone. You're away from domestication. You're pure, young, wild, and free. At the end of the day, the city is boring. Next up I want to talk about is Rondon. He is the leader of the Brazilian crew. Is that he was pretty much the head leader of this, as well as Roosevelt in terms of for the Americans. Is that he had a stratified hierarchy. Everybody was disciplined, just like a military almost, because it's life and death. You want a true leader, more like an alpha male who's in control of everything and has all the experience, makes the final call. This creates a dynamic of being extremely efficient, and as well as the wisdom of the jungle that he's connected with. One thing I like about him too is he considered the natives there. They call them Indians. I just don't like that word because India to me is really Indians, and then they use these Indian words for the natives out in America and all these tribes, and even in South America. Everybody has a name, but it's always blanketed as like Indians and savages. And I don't consider people that. They're human beings. But what he did, it was, he didn't want to all-out war or like a fight with the natives, just like in America where they somewhat killed a lot of them and pushed them around, killed their crops and all that. He uses this concept I really talk about in a lot of these my other videos, is the concept of gifts and tribal gifts. So he would give a gift to the natives to make it seem like, to have good interactions, not so much psychologically. They call it reciprocal altruism, but I consider it really a tribal gift. You're trying to make a connection, and you don't want poison darts shot at you, but it's really I'm a visitor here. I'm not invading or exploring. I'm more of a visitor and a guest into your world and the jungle. Hence, there's no such thing as money. It's the tribal gift that matters. Also, what Roosevelt brought with him was tons of junk. And this is what we expect from America. If you travel, I even did this too, is you bring suitcases of junk that you don't even need. And even if I haven't been to Europe, but if you go there, you only use like a little bit. Everything's small. Their homes, their baggages are small. But Roosevelt came with so much junk. They bought boats and big canoes. But really what they did is they used the small canoes in the jungle to carry, and all these other provisions, just emergency. Keep it real. Keep it about survival. No luxury items. One thing I don't agree with too is Roosevelt brought books with him. And this is how much he loved to read, is that he brought these heavy books with them. Thank God nowadays that they have Kindle and electronic ebooks. They had to get rid of a lot of junk. And all these materials don't mean shit. I mean, there's a fine line between survival and dying because of bullshit. And one of the ways that they had to navigate this river is it wasn't like a big river. It was windy and it was fast and there was rapids on it. And so whenever they hit rapids, they had to make that decision to take their canoes out, even if they were damaged, to remake them and or walk around it to find the river again. And this took a long time to get through. And also there's always the battle of sickness. There was a malaria, there's mosquito bites that can happen. There's of course dysentery that can happen, but everybody was getting sick and they had to rotate and work as a team to make this happen. And one of the plans of this was to, they sent Roosevelt, he sent himself out to this river, is that they decided to, this is all planned, is they wanted that river to be called the Roosevelt and not just the River of Doubt. And another interesting thing is he brought his son, who was just as adventurous as him, and it's part of his legacy to grow up. You want to be like your father, or who is your influence. So All his sons were very adventurous, and it was very risky because they both worry about each other. Theodore had to take care of Kermit because that's a part of your legacy. You don't want your son to die before you. And they ran into problems during this journey. Theodore got almost bit by a snake. He had a scar or something on his. He got hurt during the adventure and he was bedridden forever, so they had to carry him around. And he felt like dying and pretty much wanted, he thought more about his son than himself. He's 55 years old. He's the oldest. It doesn't matter if he's the president of the United States. He wants the legacy to live on. There's this fish called the candiru, like I mentioned earlier. Is that it is a fish. You got to worry about the piranhas and be cautious of the piranhas, which they eat up all your body parts, and they're flesh-eating fish. But this candiru is unique. I did not know about this. This will drive the fear into you. This fish is like a very small fish, and it likes to enter your body through holes. So think of the anus, vagina, or even your urethra. And there's a tale in this book. I don't think it's true, but there was someone urinating, a guy urinating, and the actual candiru can swim up. I don't believe it, but can swim up your flow of urine and into your penis. And the only way to really remove it, they have to do a penectomy. I know, it's strange. This will drive the wimps away, but I don't know. I think I think the best method is just to wear a condom wherever you go. I like this soft and warm chapter that Candace wrote. It's called The Beneficent Jungle. Is that the jungle is the provider and taker of life. More like a yin and yang concept. Is that you breathe oxygen, it gives so much life, but it can take it, hide it, or destroy it. So there's vines all over the place. It reminds me of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, is that the tree actually grows onto the ruins. Also, the trees cover, creating a canopy that block off the young. So it creates the wild world of survival. There's no whitewash to it. There's the art of deception. What is and what isn't. The animals are disguised and hiding. When you're walking through these jungles, you're passing by tons of wildlife that you don't know. Everything's blended in. It's just a state of calm and green. And nature, in the end, demands respect. It provides, but it takes. It creates a cycle of life. And the jungle game is green. I have been to Brazil. I have not been to other parts, just to Rio de Janeiro. I went to the Carnival. I went to the Iguazu Falls. So I got to try the acai fruit that I recommend you try, the caipirinhas. There's Brazil nuts, and there's these meat buffets that are pretty cool out there. Also, I went to the favela. They call it the favela funk party. We actually go to the favela, their version of the ghetto, and I was partying with them. It was very interesting to do that. I highly recommend you do that. In terms of how this book was written, Candace has a very soft writing style. It's very well researched. I don't always believe everything that's always written about history. Things can be sugar-coated to make Theodore Roosevelt become like some superhuman person, because he is. He's taking these actions, but you never really know what was real and what really happened. I mean, they could cover up some mistakes. But she also wrote a biography on Garfield, so I don't even know much about that president, but that he was assassinated. So you may want to check that out. It is very well constructed, and it has a very soft edge to it. Roosevelt's hardening persona. In the end, I'm pro-adventure. I think you should take journeys yourself. I traveled all over the world, and I think you learn a ton of things about yourself, whether you travel alone or with other independent individuals. This was all male adventure, and I think it's good to do that, to have your own masculine brotherhood going on, not just always being diverse. But go take that adventure. You can be a conqueror or a coward. Don't doubt yourself, power through it, and you won't be a soft wimp. The other books to check out is Brene Brown's Daring Greatly, The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt. You can check out the John Muir Trail out in California. My next book will be The Bully Pulpit, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, and the Golden Age of Journalism by Doris Kearns Goodwin. That is the book that kind of started this event for him to go to the Amazon. Also, you could check out Franklin D. Roosevelt, his cousin. It's called No Ordinary Time by Doris Goodwin. Also, you could check out Uncharted, the video game. And you could really go out in your own real life, not just a video game, and explore national parks of the world, especially United States. The United States has a ton of national parks to explore. And also do this for the sake of masculinity. Every man doubts himself, but go into the river of doubt and confront the darkness. Be independent. This is my favorite quote by Theodore Roosevelt, and many people have heard this before. I heard about this quote. I don't think it was written in this actual book, but it was in the Daring Greatly book by Brene Brown. And here it goes. Daring Greatly. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who at the best knows in the end a triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. That's by Theodore Roosevelt. The arena is game. You will understand game if you step into the arena.